Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Hello and welcome everyone for the Wednesday Dhamma talk. Can you hear me right? Or shall I speak a little louder?
I can hear you.
Okay. And it's to inform that Sachin may not be able to join us today. So I will be reading the same sutta. We'll start the session now. This is from the Majjhima Nikaya, 135, the Shorter Exposition of Action. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Chitta's Grove, Anantapindika's park. Then the Brahmin student, Subha, Todia's son, went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said and asked the Blessed One, Master Gautama, what is the cause and condition why human beings are seen to be inferior and superior? For people are seen to be short-lived and long-lived, sickly and healthy, ugly and beautiful, uninfluential and influential, poor and wealthy, low-born and high-born, stupid and wise. What is the cause and condition, Master Gautama? Why human beings are seen to be inferior and superior? So here, this is the conversation. The student is asking the Buddha, like, why there is always difference in all of the cases, in terms of health, in terms of wealth, in terms of influencing, in terms of beauty. Why there is this happening in between human beings? And now the Buddha answers, student, beings are owner of their actions, heirs of their actions. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have their actions as their refuge. It is action that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior. This is also the phrase that we just read now, is also one of the recollections that the Buddha asked for the people. First one is, I am subjected to old age, I am subjected to death, I am subjected to sickness. I will be separated from everyone and everything dear and agreeable to me. This is the fourth recollection. And the one that we read is the fifth recollection that the Buddha asked us to recollect as often as possible. And this fifth one, we are the owner of our own actions, heirs of our actions, and the beings are originated from their actions and are bound to their actions. They have actions as their refuge. So when we do any of the actions, either bodily action, verbal action, or mental action, whether we are doing it with an intention of wholesome mind or unwholesome mind, what is the intention behind each and every action? That is going to decide what are the consequences, either it's wholesome or unwholesome, that we are going to experience. And also, if you can recollect the first two Dhammapada verses that we read, mind is the forerunner of all evil states. Mind is chief. Mind made are they. If one speaks or acts with an unwholesome mind, because of that, suffering follows one, even as the wheel follows the hoof of the draft ox. Because of the unwholesome intentions, he is performing unwholesome acts through verbal action and bodily action, and because of that, he is experiencing suffering. In the same way, if someone is doing an wholesome actions by way of body, by way of speech, and by way of mind, then he's going to experience happiness like the shadow that never leaves. That's why the actions are very much important, either it's verbal, mental, or bodily actions. So that this question is asked, then the Buddha answered this. Now he's asking, I did not understand it properly, and can you elaborate? I do not understand in detail the meaning of Master Gautama's statement, which he spoke in brief without expounding the meaning in detail. It would be good if Master Gautama would teach me the Dhamma so that I might understand in detail the meaning of Master Gautama's statement. So regarding the action, the Buddha has told the fifth recollection here. And now we are going to expound this a little in deep. What's the action? What kind of action is going to affect us? What's happening? Then student listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, sir, the Brahmin student, Subha, replied. The Blessed One said this. Here, student, some man or woman kills living beings and is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings, because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body after death. He reappears in a state of deprivation in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. But if on the dissolution of the body after death, he does not reappear in a state of deprivation in an unhappy destination, in perdition, in hell, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is born, he is short-lived. This is the way, student, that leads to the short life, namely, one kills living beings and is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. But here, students, some man or woman, abandoning the killing of living beings, abstains from killing living beings with rod and weapon, laid aside, gentle and kindly. He abides compassionate to all living beings because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body after death. He reappears in a happy destination, even in the heavenly world. But if on the dissolution of the body after death, he does not reappear in a happy destination in the heavenly world, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is long lived. This is the way, student, that leads to long life, namely, abandoning the killing of living beings. One abstains from killing living beings, laid aside, gentle and kindly. One abides compassionate to all living beings. So when we read this, we can see that it is covering the first precept, abstaining from killing or harming living beings. What happens if we do not heed that precept? The first para here explains about what is happening if we do not keep the precepts. Of course, we are going to experience the action and consequence here. Even after this life, we can experience in later life also. If with the disappearance of the body, when we die, when we are going to the another realm, we can go to hell, or if there is a condition that we are going to come back to human realm, then the lifespan will be shortened if they are killing or harming living beings. This is just killing. The harming is next, I guess. And if one is keeping a precept of not killing any living beings, and they are gentle and kind to all living beings, and having compassion towards all of them, then because of performing that wholesome actions, then they will be, when they die, they are going to reappear in a heavenly world. Or if they are coming back to human realm, then their lifespan is long. They have long life. This is because they are keeping the precept of not killing any living being. Then again, next. Here, student, some man or woman is given to injuring beings with a hand, with a clod, with a stick, or with a knife. Because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a state of deprivation, in perdition, even in hell. But instead comes back to human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is sickly. This is the way, student, that leads to sickliness, namely, one is given to injuring beings with the hand, with the claw, with the stick, or with a knife. But here, student, some man or woman is not given to injuring beings with the hand, with a clod, with a stick, or with a knife. Because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is healthy. This is the way, student, that leads to health, namely, one is not given to injuring beings with the hand, with a claw, with a stick, or with a knife. So this is the second part of the first precept, killing and harming. Here, when a person is harming a person or a being with a claw, with a stick, or with a knife, not completely killing them, but harming them, so they are getting hurt. Then, when that action is performed, because of that action, when they die and leave this present body and they reappear in a state of hell, or if they come back to human realm, then they are going to be in a sick health. Their health will not be good. And if a person who is keeping the precept of not harming any living being, then because of taking that precept and keeping that action of not harming any being, then when they die in this realm, then if they go to heavenly realms, or if they come back to human realm, then they are healthy. Here, student, some man or woman is of an angry and irritable character, even when criticized a little. He is offended, becomes angry, hostile, and resentful, and displays anger, hate, and bitterness. Because of performing and undertaking such actions, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is ugly. This is the way, student, that leads to ugliness, namely, one is of an angry and irritable character and displays anger, hate, and bitterness. But here, student, the man or woman is not of an angry and irritable character, even when criticized a lot. He is not offended, does not become angry, hostile, and resentful, and does not display. I'm sorry, my niece is here and she's talking. And does not display anger, hate, and bitterness. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is beautiful. This is the way, student, that leads to being beautiful, namely, one is not of an angry and irritable character and does not display anger, hate, and bitterness. So in the first case, we saw about the long life and short lived. And then next we saw about the health and sickness and healthy. And now we are seeing about the beauty, ugliness, and then beautiful. So when a person who is angry and shows anger for even a little things or gets criticized and gets offended, or they are like, even if a little dissatisfaction arising, they just burst out. That kind of persons. Then when they die, then when they reborn, they can reborn in a hell realm, or when if they come back to human realm, what happens is they, because of that past action of anger, hatred, and bitterness, their face or their appearance is ugly. And then if another person who is not angry, not irritable in their character, not criticize, even when criticized, they do not show any bitterness, then because of non-hatred, because of non-anger, because of non-bitterness of in their character in the past life, then when they die, they reborn in a heavenly realm, or if they come back to human state, then their appearance will be beautiful. Here, student, some man or woman is envious, one who envies, resents, and begrudges the gains, honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and veneration received by others. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he appears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is uninfluential. This is the way, student, that leads to being uninfluential. Namely, one is envious towards the gain, honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and veneration received by others. But here, student, some man or woman is not envious, one who does not envy, resent, begrudges, and gains honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and veneration received by others. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in his happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is influential. This is the way, student, that leads to being influential. Namely, one is not envious towards the gains, honor, respect, reverence, salutation, and veneration received by others. So here also they are talking about the action, how we are receiving the veneration, respect, or honor, or salutations by the others, or even the praises that somebody is praising us and we just show jealous, or we just resent them saying that no, it's not true, or something like that. Anything against happening in our mind, that action that we are creating in mind or body or word, because of performing that resentful, jealous actions in this present life, because of that actions, when they die, they will be reborn in a hell realm, or if instead they come back, their words will not be influential, their words will be uninfluential. People may not be receiving the words that they are speaking in a right way, or they may not be able to influence any other people. But if instead, other person who is not envious, who does not have envy, who is not, who is like accepting the honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and venerations received by others. They are not being jealous if other people are respected, venerated. They do not think that, oh, I am not getting venerated, or oh, they are getting venerated. They do not have that mind that is showing any jealous in their mind, or any verbal action that they are performing will not be rooted in jealousy. Then that person, because of performing and because of not performing unwholesome deeds, not showing envy, not showing jealous, because of that action, they are reborn in a heavenly realm. But if they come back to human realm, they they will be influential. Here, student, some man or woman does not give food, drink, clothing, carriages, garlands, scents, oncuments, beds, dwelling, and lamps to recluses or Brahmins. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is poor. This is the way, student, that leads to poverty. Namely, one does not give food and lamps to recluses or Brahmins. But here, student, some man or woman gives food, drink, clothing, carriages, garlands, scents, ointments, beds, dwelling, and lamps to recluses and Brahmins. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is wealthy. This is the way, student, that leads to wealth, namely one gives food and lamps to recluses or Brahmin. So here we are covering about the generosity aspect, about the uh, generosity being practiced towards who are recluses or Brahmins. When we serve them, what happens when we do not serve them? If a person who is not serving food, drink, clothing, or anything, they are not practicing any generosity towards any recluses or Brahmins. And because of that actions, they are being reborn in a poor family, or they'll be reborn in a poor state. Then they'll be reborn in a hell realm. But if instead a person is practicing generosity, they are offering food, water, or any clothing, garland, scents, bed, dwelling places, lamps, to any recluses or in heavenly realms, if they come back to human realm, they will be reborn in a wealthy family. And wealthy. Next, we will see. Here, student, some man or woman is obstinate and arrogant. He does not pay homage to one who should receive homage. Rise up for one in whose presence he should rise up. Does not offer a seat to one who deserves a seat. Does not make way for one for whom he should make way, and does not honor, respect, revere, and venerate one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is low born. This is the way, student, that leads to low birth, namely, one is obstinate and arrogant and does not honor, respect, revere, and venerate one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. But here, student, some man or woman is not obstinate and arrogant. He pays homage to one who should receive homage, rises up for one in whose presence he should rise up, offers a seat to one who deserves a seat, makes way for one for whom he should make way, and honor, respect, reveres, and venerates one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is highborn. This is the way, student, that leads to high birth, namely, one is not obstinate and arrogant, and honors, respects, reveres, and venerates one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. So here also we are talking about the action, and here the action is this that we just read regarding paying, does not pay homage to one who should receive homage, does not rise up for one in whose presence he should rise up, does not offer a seat to one who deserves a seat. So all this action, one does not do, or when a person does not pay homage to one who should be paid respect to, then because of that unwholesome action, the unwholesome deeds, he is reborn in a hell realm. Or if he is coming back, then he leads a low birth that can be financially, or maybe in terms of its characteristics, or maybe in terms of his actions, I mean, the growth that he's going to experience. But if there is another person who is not obstinate and not arrogant, and pays homage to one who should be received homage, and rises up for one in whose presence he should rise up. This can be applied to our, even to our parents, to our family members. One should pay respects to their parents, to the Sangha, to those people who can receive the homage, who should rise up for them, and we should offer the seats to them. And for those who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated, to all those people, when we give respect and honor them, when we pay homage to them, then because of performing those actions, then when we die from this realm, then when we reappear in a happy heaven, or if we come back to human realm, reborn, our birth in another human birth can be a high born in terms of wealth, in terms of our characteristics, or even in terms of our growth. This is the way that leads to high birth, that is the performing of paying homage, paying respects, paying homage, and honoring to those who are worthy of honor. So we covered about low born and high born. Now we'll see. Here, student, some man or woman does not visit a recluse or a Brahmin and ask, Venerable Sir, what is wholesome? What is unwholesome? What is blamable? What is blameless? What action will lead to my harm and suffering for a long time? What kind of action will lead to my welfare and happiness for a long time? Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. I'm sorry, there was impermanence in my internet connection. Let's continue. What kind of action will lead to my welfare and happiness for a long time? Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is wise. This is the way, student, that leads to wisdom. Namely, one visits a recluse or a Brahmin and asks such questions. So here, uh, regarding what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what is blamable. Here, visit, when we do not visit a recluse and Brahmin and do not ask them the questions regarding any of the actions that we are going to do, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. When we do not ask what should be cultivated, what should not be cultivated, because we are not knowing any of Dhamma in this life. When we leave this body, then in the rebirth, we can be born in a lower realms, either in hell, or if we come back to human state, we will be born stupid, or we can say we will be ignorant of not knowing the Four Noble Truths or the path. And then the other person who visits the recluses and Brahmins and asks, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what is blamable, what is blameless, what kind of actions should be cultivated, what should not be cultivated, what actions will lead to my harm and suffering for a long time, and what actions will bring us happiness for a long time. If when one knows this and does good actions, then when they reappear, when they when they leave this body, they reappear in heavenly realms, or when if they come back to human state, then they'll be reborn wise. Thus, student, the way that leads to short life makes people short-lived. The way that leads to long life makes people long-lived. The way that leads to sickliness makes people sickly. Ugliness makes people ugly. The way that leads to beauty makes people beautiful. The way that leads to being uninfluential makes people uninfluential. The way that leads to being influential makes people influential. The way that leads to poverty makes people poor. The way that leads to wealth makes people wealthy. The way that leads to low birth makes people low born. The way that leads to high birth makes people high born. The way that leads to stupidity makes people stupid. The way that leads to wisdom makes people wise. So in short, whatever we read, this is the paragraph that is summarizing the sutta. And whatever actions or the way of life that we are living now in this present life, that way will lead us to the next what is going to happen, or the actions that we are performing today will know what are the consequences that we are going to face in the future. So the way should either we are keeping the precepts or breaking the precepts, whatever action we are doing, wholesome or unwholesome, accordingly, we are going to experience it, either wholesome actions, wholesome results, unwholesome actions, unwholesome results. Again, now they are saying the first that we read that the Buddha has explained throughout this sutta. Beings are heirs of their actions. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have their actions as their refuse. It is action that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior. So everybody is born in this world, but there are so many inferiorities, superiorities in this world. And why is this difference happening in this world? Because of the action. Magnificent Master Gautama, magnificent Master Gautama. Master Gautama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning a pride that has been overturned, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go to Master Gautama for refuge, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha of bhikkhus. Let Master Gautama remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge for life. So after this discussion, what is action? What kind of action should one perform? And what are the consequences that are going to happen on whatever action that we are performing? And then he went to the refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Anybody has any question? Hello, Nanda Pereira ji. Ma'am, it would be great we could hear from something from you. You did a retreat with us. I spoke to you on mail, but we could not speak to you directly. Do you have any questions? Anybody has any question? Or want to share any insight or regarding the practice?
Hello.
Hi, Paul. Yes.
The first two points that were made were about people being short-lived and sickly, and you linked that towards the precepts, breaking the first precept.
Yes.
Is it possible to link the others, being, born, being angry and irritable, envious, not being generous, and the rest of them? Is it possible to link that to
the precepts? Yes, angry and irritable, not keeping the 4 precepts of abstaining from telling lies in harsh speech. And this is the first precept. This is the 4th precept. I don't think so, because the 3rd precept of sexual misconduct is not being covered in this. I mean, it might have been in depth, but whatever wrong actions or sensual misconduct, then that can be taken here also. Because of angry and irritable character, it can also be covered here. Or generosity is here, but other taking what is not given, it is also may not be given in this completely. Not all precepts are covered, I guess.
Yeah, I was just wondering if they can be linked to other teachings of the Buddha. You know, some of it might be breaking a precept, but some of them might be related to some other of the Buddha's teachings. I was just curious. I mean, it
Yes,
makes sense.
actually, the first sentence that we just read here, beings are owners of their action. This is where the Buddha asked us to recollections other than the 5 precepts that the Buddha asked. For lay people, it's 5 recollections. That is, I am subjected to death. I am not exempted from death. This is the first recollection that we need to keep recollecting is as often as possible, or even on every day. Whatever actions, good or bad, that I do, I will be the only person who's responsible. This is the 5th recollection. This is the 5th recollection that the Buddha has asked us to do.
Okay.
And also, whatever action, as I said, the first Dhammapada verses. So it's mainly regarding the action, because even through meditation that we are doing, that we are cultivating wholesome mental actions and verbal actions that we are doing right now. We are discussing the Dhamma, so it's wholesome verbal action, and also getting our mind or body getting seated at a place, or practicing joining the Zoom talk. Also, in a way, we are involving the wholesome bodily actions. So it's really important, whatever actions, good or bad, either verbal, mental, or through bodily actions. Everything actually originates in mind. So it's really important that we keep cultivating our mind, so that before even the speech is generated, we can check if it's wholesome or unwholesome. Rooted, what's the intention behind it? And then we act accordingly. If it's unwholesome, if it's going to hurt someone, or if it's breaking the precept, then we just move our hand back, step back, and just don't do that action anymore. So it's all, whatever we do is always action. So I think this sutta covers all of the actions. What happens? What is blame? What are the blame actions? What are the blameworthy actions or blameless actions regarding the action?
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Sachin, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Sindhu. Actually, I could not able to join and give the Dhamma talk on time. You have helped to give the Dhamma talk. Fine, it's fine.
That's okay. Dhamma is taking care of the Dhamma. We'll share the merits. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear stuck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all the beings share this merit that we have thus acquired
For the acquisition of all kinds of
happiness. May
being
beings
inhabiting
space
space
in it.
and
They
devas and nagas
with
of
mighty
mighty power share
share
this merit of
the
ours.
word. May they
May the
long
long protect the
the
thirst
sensation.
Sadhu.
Sad. Sad. May
Thanking you
feel and happy. Thank you,
and
everyone.
wishing all happiness. Thank you.
Thank